Celtics Talk Podcast is presented by 24autogroup.com. New England gets more at 24.
What's up, everybody?
3 straight wins, Chris.
3 straight wins. The vibes in this room have been just growing better and better and better. Happy Halloween, everybody. Celtics win 109-108 down in Philadelphia. Had it the whole way.
Had it the whole way. There's no doubt about it, 24-point lead for the Celtics in the first half. They're up 11 at half.
I was like, I've seen this movie.
Yeah, the game's then tied. Then they go on a 17-5 run. It's like, okay, they're up 10 with a few minutes to go. Everything's fine. And yet it all came down to not one but 2 defensive stops.
And the Celtics make the plays, which they did not do when Philly was here on opening night, and find a way to win. And I think that matters. I always say there's no pictures on the scorecard. We used to, when it's the team like last year, we'd always fret like, oh, it wasn't even like a nice win. This year, like wins are wins are wins.
No style points. Doesn't matter.
You are, especially when it comes to the NBA Cup and the Emirates Cup, whatever we're calling it this year, it is all about, just survive in advance. Didn't really do any benefits to the point differential. So they're going to have to crank it up a little bit depending on like how the next few games go. But going into Philly, who was undefeated, who was vibing, who had come back in like 9 straight games in the fourth quarter and found a way to win.
And you can see why the Sixers are that team. Again, Tyrese Maxey shakes loose for a 3. Celtics go to double team Embiid, and that leaves VJ Edgecombe open for a 3. It's just little plays like that. It allowed Philly to kind of get back in it, but they had to make the shots. And it was a little nerve-wracking in that those closing moments there.
Dare I say the trick-or-treat Celtics, because some moments they look so good, and some moments they look so bad. But they found a way to win. So, Giles, what is your headline tonight?
My headline, as it relates back to the season opener, is Celts flip the script in the final 30 seconds. Because if you look at it, the season opener, right? The Celtics were the ones that were down by 1 in the final 30 seconds. You saw VJ Edgecombe miss a couple free throws. That allowed Peyton Pritchard to get 1 look and then a second look. In this situation, it's the Celtics up by 1. Philadelphia trying to take the lead. You had Josh Minot missing a couple free throws. Sixers get 2 cracks at it. And, I guess they got a decent look on the first one, but the second one they didn't even get off. Yeah. So it was interesting to me in the fact that both games decided by 1 point, and it was the team making the defensive stop that won the game in the final seconds.
And how crazy that we spent so much time in the aftermath of that game going, man, how does Jaylen Brown not get one of those opportunities? Now, they did get Maxey a look on the first possession. It was like a really good, as soon as they started drawing up, I said, all you want is Maxey with a head of steam, and that scared me. Because now, Minot, as good as he was defensively in this game, is on his heels, and you're going to get screened somewhere. And sure enough, they get exactly what they want. But credit to the Celtics. They forced a miss. Minot closes out the possession, even though he was, kind of chasing from behind, gets the possession. The Sixers clearly draw up another look for Maxey. As Scal said, maybe overthought it a little bit too much. Instead of going right back to Maxey with a head of steam, they try to get him coming off a couple screens. Jaylen Brown heads up play, switches the screen, denies the inbound, so they get it to Grimes, and then kind of like Jaylen kind of cheats over so that they can't have a passing lane back to Maxey. Just high-level execution for a team that really couldn't get out of its own way for much of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and I think it's good, and you were talking about this, but it's good for them to win a close game too. They were able to blow out New Orleans with a strong finish there. Cleveland, they separated themselves from. So those were the first 2 wins that were, they kind of just took off late in those games. This one, to me, was, all right, you got to make plays. You got to make plays on the road against a team that is trying to give you their best punch. Yeah. So I this is the type of season and the type of team that you got to take wins any way you can. And I think that maybe until tonight, you would still look back, and maybe we will still look back at the season opener and say that was one that got away from them. So I
think that whole first week, the further removed, when the further we see like what this team is capable of, it makes it a little bit more maddening that even if they just don't give up as many second chance points on opening night, if they're a little bit more crisp to the finish line of that game, if they know how to play with a lead, like if they don't lose their mind. Now, I think we've seen there's going to be some wild inconsistencies this year. They're still figuring out exactly how this looks. Until Derek White and Peyton Pritchard kind of lock in a little bit more, it's going to be a little bit up and down, but Jaylen Brown has been super steady, has been big in those moments. I wonder what happens if he gets a final look in that first game? And does he produce a winner? And do we feel different about the tenor of the season if they don't start 0-3? Like, there's been a lot of good strides here, and I think it's reflected in you find a way to win instead of finding a way to lose.
And you also got contributions across the board. Across the board from absolutely everybody. Chris, what are you going with for a headline?
And I'm talk about a pro there, Jaws, because you are leading right into my headline, which is the bench. And I wouldn't even just say the bench. I would just say all the role players on this team have been superstars in their roles. Because I want to include Minot in this, because every podcast is now has to have at least like 5 sponsored minutes of Chris Forsberg talking about Josh Minot. And so I thought gave him a good burst at the start, had his moments throughout this game. I thought the most important part was he defended Maxey. So after the makes, especially in the first half, he would pick up full court on Maxey, make him at least work to get up the court. He would try to chase him around on the defensive end. They would sometimes switch stuff, like just to try to keep a body on him. They were much more attached than they were in the first meeting. They never let him get feeling as comfortable as he did. What did Maxey finish with? I mean, he still got 26 on 8 of 16. It's hard
but
to
he came
say,
in
like,
averaging 37 and a half.
Yeah, it's like to keep a guy 11 points below average is like it feels like a win for the night. And so I really like that they just were a little bit more engaged. And I think, again, it started with Minot. Doesn't play a ton in this game, 22 minutes.
Didn't you find that weird? Hold on. I just want to bring that up because it felt like for much of the second half he wasn't in there. Like I think he was in there at the beginning of the third quarter, and then you didn't see him again until like the final 5 minutes.
So 2 early fouls, and he got pulled. And so I think that limited his overall time. I do think it was weird that they didn't go back to him as much in the second half. I don't know if that's, again, there's a sequence you can see when he's coming out after that second foul. Like, Joe is screaming at him on the way to the bench. And he has been very, very tough on Minot. Just because, and we talk about this all the time, right? They're not hard on you unless they think you can give more and be better. And I think he understands how vital Josh is to this because they've just been so much better since he's entered that starting lineup. But he also has to, fight through screens a little bit more. He needs to not cheat off defenders. And it's just like little stuff. He's still making so many hustle and grit plays that I think really have just turned the season around. But, I'm a little surprised that number wasn't as high. What I would think played into it is Xavier Tillman plays 13 minutes in this game. They love putting Tillman out there against Embiid.
Yeah, he had some big minutes down the stretch. He had a huge 3 and also another big 2.
There was multiple points where I was screaming at Scal that we have to give Xavier Tillman the Tommy Award because it just felt like he had enough little moments where I think he had a second look at an open 3, and if he'd knocked that down, I was like, we're going that way. And just the defense against Embiid, the switchability, versatility that he gives you. I mean, I think he was out there for that final possession against Maxey, right? Like he was the one that deterred the shot before Minot closed it out. I just like the way that, Tillman's got to know from night to night he might not get in there.
Right.
And yet, when he's called upon, he's ready. And
how about Luka Garza, too? I mean, in the third quarter in particular, when this game was tight, I can't remember the 2 that he had set up, and they made a 3 on the following possession.
Yep.
Just he had a quick 5 points or 9 in all, but
he had a little push shot, and then got in the corner. You could see him turn toward the Philly bench because they were probably giving him some grief about whether he was going to make that shot.
I guess just looking at that, it's to your point, the role players kind of stepping up in different moments in this game, which it felt like in those first few games of the season, you'd get 1 or 2 guys to kind of pop. You weren't getting a collection of guys, and this felt more like a collection of guys having their moment in this game.
100%. And Scal loved to point this out. Like, every starter was in the negative tonight.
Yep.
So even though Jaylen Brown goes for 32 points and was, like, just vital to winning this game, he's a -11 overall, -4 for Minot, -3 Kata, -4 Pritchard, -15 Derek White. People love when you read box scores on podcasts.
They love it.
But everybody on the bench had good numbers, and Anthony Simons, who we didn't even talk to about being a star in their role, plus 23 while going for 19 points on 7 of 21 shooting. Wasn't super efficient, but there were large stretches of this game where you just needed some offense, and Anthony Simons gave it to you. So I might even save Ugo for the lightning round because there was like 9 different sequences, but dude just comes in and plays hard.
Yeah.
And like good things happen. I think what Joe is trying to show everybody is just come in and play your ass off for 5 minutes, and that's all I want from you. If shots go in, great. But if you just play hard and play defense, like you have a role on this team.
Yeah.
Which the guys like Baylor Shireman probably need to to figure out as well.
There was a great sequence at the end of the first quarter where Kada had the block on one end, and then it went back the other way for the Ugo 3. Just, that to me is kind of like all the role players kind of rolled up into one. And Kada had a few big blocks in this game as well, just 4 points and 4 rebounds, but had a few big blocks in a game where he didn't play as many minutes.
So good. And I'm just really excited because if you had told me coming into the year, what's your biggest concern? But beyond just the big man depth, I think I would have said depth in general. You don't lose Kristaps, Luke, and Drew, and Al, and all these players, and then just like magically replace them. That you found someone who seems like a legitimate piece of the next puzzle in Minot is great. That Garza and Ugo and everybody seems like they could have their roles this year and maybe even deeper into the future is really, really encouraging. So shout out to the bench for just being ready for it. And and Boucher, who was one of your best players in the preseason, has been a DNP lately, and I think he will find times to contribute. Like this, it's almost like the Tillman theory, where there's nights there's going to be a Tillman night, it's going to be nights it's a Boucher night, and I think Boucher will find it. He's been around too long not to get it going. So shout out to the bench, man. Like they've just been bringing it.
They have. Okay, now let's talk about Jaylen Brown because 32 points. He had 16 in the first quarter, like right away. His first stretch of the game, 16 points. He's been scoring so incredibly efficiently so far this year, last few games.
So he was 4 of 7 on the threes. Last time I looked, he was at like 47% for threes.
And he was 13 of 19 from the field in general.
It's kind of crazy how efficient he's been.
And he's not getting to the free throw line as much as he probably should.
You wonder if that'll turn a corner too when the hamstring's feeling good and exploding to the basket a little bit more. We did it the other night. We were joking. We said every night on our program, on our postgame show, it feels like it takes 20 minutes to get to the Jaylen Brown segment, and yet he's just been so good. It almost feels offensive that we're not there. But it's been the role players have been so good. They tend to take a little bit of that spotlight or just finding a way to win. Jaylen deserves a ton of credit for gutting it out while dealing with this hamstring. 0-3, we know the situation. Could have taken the night off in New Orleans, decided to play, helped get this thing on track, has had big nights, has had nights where he set everybody else up like the night in Philly, the first game against Philly, where got guys open shots, they just didn't knock them down. But feels like he's playing the right way and doing everything he can to steer this team the right way.
Absolutely. And again, this is a Celtics team that you brought up the depth of this team. I kind of wondered going into the year, can they get enough scoring from even their stars to fill that out and fill that up before you have to get to the depth of it? And so far, Jaylen Brown has answered the call every time. 6 assists as well to go along with those 32 points.
All right, you ready to do a little lightning round?
Okay.
I said we were going to get back to Ugo. Ugo nearly died in this game. He tried to chase down Quentin Grimes on a breakaway and ended up doing like a helicopter into the stanchion. He had a play where the ball squirted into the backcourt, and it was clear he had zero chance to get it, but he still.
I think watching that live, I was like, "Is that going to stay?
Is that going to
stay?" And then it was like watching a ball dribble down the third baseline. Where you're like, "Is that going to stay fair?" And it was
no chance. But he still went to the ground to try and make something happen. Had a breakaway dunk off of a Sam Hauser steal. I go back to it. There's going to be moments where Ugo struggles. But he wasn't bashful with his 3-point shot. He had one look right in front of Joe where I was like, oh, man, if he doesn't take this, Joe's going to pull him. Because they needed him to be offensively aggressive. I thought he played really well. He had one, and he admitted it afterward. You'll hear that in a second. He had one bad foul against Joel Embiid and got kicked in the jewels for his troubles. But, I thought Ugo was really good. And, it's not a ton of time, but 14-33. And he just seems okay with, I'm a rookie. It's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster, and I thought he was super impactful. 3
offensive rebounds for Ugo. Ooh. Celtics in general had 16 offensive rebounds. They outscored the Sixers as far as second chance points, 17-11. Out-rebounded the Sixers, 45-40, and on the offensive glass, 16-9. So the rebounding, Joe brought it up pretty early in his press conference as well.
So because people can't get enough Ugo, let's listen to some back in the locker room.
How do you like this role where you're coming into the game to guard some of the best players? Like, did you expect that, and how do you feel like you're doing with it?
Well, I'm enjoying my role. Type of things that this coaching staff is asking me to do. I'm pretty happy with anything they got for me, because they looking for team success and also looking for my own development. So anything they got for me, I'll take it.
You did that sometimes with Real, Evan Fournier, some other guys over there. Like, when did you start doing that for them sometimes, and do you feel like that prepares you for this?
Well, obviously when you're a young player, basic thing that they're gonna ask you, and 99% of the times that you're gonna be able to defend. And whenever you're open, take your shot, play with confidence, whatever. But that's the primary basis. And so if I want to get minutes in this team, I need to defend.
You saw Quentin Grimes going toward the basket for a dunk. Did you think you were going to catch him? Did you really care about that, or was it just hustling to get there, try to make it there just no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, if I see somebody that is going to try to make a dunk in our basket, I'll go 100 times with the. I don't care the result. I'm not allowing, or we're not allowing easy baskets. And if I got the opportunity to hustle that, and if it's on my hand, I'm going to do it 100 times. So basically it.
When you checked out of the game, Joe kind of like patted you on the back and you patted him on the back. What was his message to you after that last play when you fouled?
Well, it was more like you did a great job, but obviously you got to know that you got to have always in every play, especially me, concentration. That was a bad foul. That's a foul that wasn't required for the time and the momentum of the game. So basically just giving me a feedback and just cheering me up and getting me prepared just in the case I need to come back to the game.
When you have different minutes on different nights, how are you able to have the ability to come in and make the impact that you did here tonight?
Well, I think that's more like you just got to be prepared. Sometimes the matchups and whatever they ask you to play more, to play less. You gotta be able to manage those type of situations. I think that it will be really selfish, and if you think that you're gonna play, especially in my case right now, that I'm gonna play 35 minutes every single night. That wouldn't be the case right now. But you gotta be able to do whatever they ask you. If they ask you to guard the best player, you gotta do it for the team. So basically it.
All right. Lightning round really wasn't lightning when we're tossing the Ugo sound,
wondering.
but I don't make the rules. Let's go through a few more of these things. Derek White,
Yeah.
what's going on?
With the shot?
Poor guy got knocked in the head at the
He
end of
did.
the game.
It was ironically like on Halloween, you're going to be seeing people with like the fake like wounds, you know, like
Yeah.
like the makeup artists they'll put on and everything else. Derek White was wearing a real one. Right on like the corner here. Just like,
Little egg,
Yeah.
everything. Do you worry at all?
I don't worry
it's
about
weird.
him. I'd be worried if he was forcing bad shots. And there was one game, was it New York, where he was kind of double clutching the 3-point shot a little bit. There just felt like there was a hesitation there. I didn't think he was taking bad shots. He just had some open looks that he couldn't hit. It's got to come around at some point. Between him and Peyton Pritchard, who was 1 of 9 from 3.
Yep.
Like, the fact that they're 3-3, they've won these last few games, and they're not even getting great shooting from their two best shooters. I mean, that's plus money. That's house money there.
I feel like a little bit of a broken record on the pod because for the 3 wins, I keep saying, well, they're doing this, and Derek and Pritchard really haven't been efficient from 3-point. I mean, even Pritchard tonight.
They were combined 3 of 16.
Unbelievable. 1 of 9 on 3-pointers. And, I mean, he was super effective inside the arc, and that probably deserves its own segment about mid-range P. But, what happens when those two guys get going, you feel pretty good about where this team is at.
Well, there was a point in the first half where you already felt pretty good about where this team was at when they had a 24-point lead. That was the other thing, too. Like, at halftime, and you bring up the 3-point shooting, they were attacking with the mid-range, as you just brought up, like crazy. I mean,
let's do it. Lightning round topic. Mid-range Celtics, just the way everyone thought. Joe Mazzulla taking tons of mid-range shots.
I can't remember what the numbers were at halftime, but the Celtics had something like I think it was like 21.
Scal tried to do the math and was like, throw some.
I had it. I just
number.
don't have I don't have the box score in front of me.
I could
from
pull
the
up
first
Cleaning the
half,
Glass
but
and tell you
don't worry about it.
Okay, good.
My point was though that
I type slow.
I think they had 9 threes in the first half and maybe like 18 twos. So they made an effort to get in there and get some easy buckets. And before you knew it, and then you start making a couple threes. The lead's just growing and growing, and kind of felt like, wow, they might just totally crush Philadelphia here. Didn't happen, but
What'd you think of the court?
Court was fine to me. It's always jarring at first.
Yeah.
It's always jarring the first few minutes of the game, and then you just get used to it.
I don't mind the blue. Something about. I mean, the blue was fine. The red ring around that I didn't love. I know it's their colors, but like I don't know. It just felt like it needed a neutral or something like that.
Can I bring up a concern?
Sure. Lightning round. We'll do concerns.
Okay. Lightning round concern. Closing out quarters.
No. Probably should have been It could have been the lead topic.
It would have been the lead topic had they lost the game.
Great first half. Everyone's vibing, and then they just forget how to play basketball for 4 minutes or so. And then, same deal. It's end of third quarter was not great. 100%, I guarantee you, Joe Mazzulla, who is big on like three things: margins, generating 2-on-1s offensively, and closing quarters, is going to sit there and in whatever brief film session they have before Houston, we'll be on them about that.
17-4 Philly run to close out the second quarter, and then they continue with a 15-4 run to start the third quarter. It was a 32-8 run to tie the game.
He's got them ready for more. More selection, more savings, more ways to win.
During the Drive for More savings event at Chrysler Jeep 24, shoot to save more, up to $1,500 more. Plus, during the Drive It Fall event, lease a new Jeep Grand Cherokee for just $285 a month and get more for your trade with up to $2,400 over book value.
Family owned and operated. You'll save more at Chrysler Jeep 24.
New England gets more at Chrysler Jeep 24.
Houston tomorrow night.
Yes.
How you feeling about that?
It's a daunting task considering their size. Houston's bigger than even they want to be because Fred VanVleet.
Fair.
He would normally be starting for them, right?
100%.
And he's not on the floor. So that means that they are gigantic across the board, which
Celtics
poses...
are giving up a ton of size. Like, I almost wonder, do you stay big? I guess you have no choice,
Who
right?
Stay big with who?
I mean, Minot and is this a Boucher night?
Maybe. I just, even at their biggest, they're not as big as Houston.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even like stack people on top of each other.
It's almost like you can't. Why are you going to change what you do to try to compete with what they'll still be able to do better than you as far as size goes?
I'm intrigued. 5 and 7 nights. I'll be interested to see if everyone's out there for the Celtics and how it looks. The Rockets are well rested. They're turned the corner, 0-2 start, won their last 2. We know what a challenge it will be. Ime Udoka on the other side. There's a whole bunch of storylines. It's going to be a fun game. So we'll see how it goes. Plenty of time to break that down tomorrow night on the pod. Best Halloween costume when you were a kid?
I was literally a baseball one year, like a giant baseball. That's the one I remember.
When you started, I thought you meant like a baseball player.
No, this was just like a baseball.
Just a baseball.
It was like I was like an orb, like a white orb, like it had the stitches on it and everything.
Did anyone try to take a bat to you?
So those jokes were made. I think I was still young enough that no one actually did it. At least not with like.
If you had been a teen, there probably would have been like chaos.
Yeah, but yeah, I remember that one as a kid. I don't know if I remember that many.
I was always very regularly sports themed. I remember being like an Oakland A at one point because I'm 100 years old and Bash Brothers were popular. I remember being a Denver Bronco at one point because the Patriots were god awful. And then eventually, like I started wearing Boston sports stuff. My favorite, and I reprised this on Boston Sports Tonight at one point, was Garth from Wayne's World.
Oh.
And
I was Wayne one year.
Oh, we should have gone together.
Yeah, I was Wayne one year.
Swing. Would have been great if we had. Who would have thought? We have our own. Like this is practically Wayne's World, like the way we produce this thing. So it might as well be. One day we'll have to break out those costumes. How about Scal being the only one of us that actually showed up ready for Halloween?
He showed up like in a costume. He's like, "What? You didn't dress up?" I'm like this is something we would probably discuss ahead of time, right?
Left me and Giles scrambling.
I mean,
match
the irony there as well. Like, if anything, wouldn't you expect that like we would have costumes on and he'd be the one person 100%.
That was actually my fear. I was like, I don't want to be the only one who shows up in a costume. And
anyway, Scal walks through and he's got his flannel on and his Maine Celtics jersey.
I mean, never good when you have to explain your costume, but like, it was worth a shot. I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big Cooper Flag guy. Big maniac.
Big Cooper Flag. It is like interesting. Here we are sitting hours later, but we started the night like with that kind of vibe. It was nice fun pregame show.
Yeah.
Everyone's having fun and goofing off, and Then you got down to the end of the game,
Oh,
man.
we
It was
were
like
tense.
there would be no costumes in that post-game show.
we cannot go down this road. Speaking of baseballs, who wins the World Series?
Well, I think it's
It's official. There's a Game 7 tomorrow.
Oh, it is official, huh? I have no idea who's pitching. I am a baseball guy. I have
It's
no
gotta
idea
be
who's
Ohtani,
pitching Game
right?
7. If it is, I mean, I would think the Dodgers are going to be favored. That means they got to win 2 in Toronto. I
should have told you this.
I would
Do
like
more
to see.
research.
I would like to see Toronto win.
Same.
We'll see if they can rise to the occasion.
You've-
The Dodgers have been there.
You've heard my Toronto story, but when I was a young lad, my parents loved to vacation north of the border, often in Nova Scotia, but we gradually made our way across much of Canada. And so one year when I was in my Oakland A's revelry, they bought tickets we scalped tickets to a game at Skydome right after it had opened, which was an experience in and of itself, right? Like this is, marvel of a stadium, retractable roof. I think we sat in a Hard Rock Cafe in the outfield and watched BP. It was amazing. Paid like $1 million for a plate of wings. And then we watched Dave Stewart throw a no-hitter for the Oakland A's.
Oh, that's wild.
And I was like, what are the chances? Like, you just scalp a random game. And then pretty much immediately after that, I was like, boy, baseball is super boring. I don't want to ever watch this sport again. And I really didn't. But it was an amazing experience as a kid. And I always appreciated that, even though I was a little jerk of a kid wearing Oakland A's stuff in the visiting arena, none of the fans really gave me any crap. They were respectful.
It's Canada.
And, like, Toronto
nice,
was good.
right?
They were like, and so I was always like, Canadians, very polite.
Very, very much so.
And I have now, as an older person, I love going to Toronto. One of my favorite cities that we go to. Billy Bishop Airport is top 5 airport in the world for like flying into and amazingness. Great city of Toronto. Like, go in the summer. Like, tell the same thing if people were coming here. Yeah, like a Porter Airlines, everything. I'm gushing about Canada right now. So go Blue Jays. Then plus they have like every kid of a famous '90s baseball player plays for them. So
They got Bo Bichette, Vlad Jr.
Yeah,
It's
so
a lot of fun to watch.
Same deal. We eventually went to Montreal and did an Expos game. I enjoyed that. So
interesting.
Yeah,
I've never did.
For you
Never got
kids,
to.
the Expos, they used to be a baseball team.
Right. They
UP,
drafted
look it
Tom
up.
Brady.
Yeah, that's right.
Wild.
Look
huh?
at this. We just brought it from. Change it to the Patriots Talk logo. All right. Any final thoughts before we get out of here? Favorite Halloween candy?
I'll eat it. I mean, the Kit Kats, Milky Ways, Almond Joy has become a big favorite in my adult years.
Yes.
Coconut, no good as a kid. I don't know what I was thinking.
See,
it's delicious.
I'm a lifelong coconut fan here. I am all in, and like I'll settle for a Mounds, but an Almond Joy is where it's at.
Yeah. Agreed.
I hope my children are ready for. They'll be fast asleep by the time I get home, but I cannot wait to raid the candy bag.
Yeah, and you hate Milk Duds. Apparently, we've covered that in the pregame show.
So I don't say again.
I will say they're very inefficiently packed. Like there's
100%.
4 Milk
What do you
Duds
get?
in
Like
a box.
2 in a box?
I think they're supposed to be 4, but yeah.
0 chance. I'm gonna do a little research tonight. I'll have the results of that tomorrow night on the pod. Are you my guy tomorrow night, or is it Kayla?
I have no idea.
I don't know either.
One day at a time.
That's what it is with all these games. I need everybody to go like, go subscribe, go check us out on the YouTube page. That lightning round was anything but lightning. We'll catch you next time on the Celtics Talk Podcast.